In the early 1960s, the movers and shakers of San Antonio planned the grandest fiesta ever to celebrate the city's 250th birthday. They called it HemisFair. After a 5-year flurry of preparation, on April 6, 1968, HemisFair welcomed the world for this birthday bash, which lasted half a year. It was a little jewel of a fair, and Governor John Connally pronounced it the most exciting 92 acres in Texas.
It was just an occasion to say, world, here we are, and we are special and different.
HemisFair visitors had a bird's-eye view of the grounds from the Swiss Sky Ride, strolled above the crowds on elevated walkways, floated the canals, mini-monorailed to and through the many pavilions, or simply joined the throng at ground level, weaving amongst the many fabulous sculptures and cascading fountains punctuating the grounds. Water ski performances on a tiny lake at the foot of the Tower of the Americas provided a cool rest. The 43-second ride up the tower in a glass-fronted elevator was a tummy grabber, and the observation deck allowed our first panoramic view of the city from on high. HemisFair, originally conceived to be a fair of the Americas, gained status as a World's Fair with the participation of 20-some nations whose pavilions, exhibits, restaurants, and boutiques truly provided a confluence of civilizations. Local delicacies gained international favor, and foreign foods were in turn savored by local folks. Without a doubt, the single most memorable feature at HemisFair was the performance of the Flying Indians, Los Voladores. Cutting-edge films premiered, puppets entertained the very young and the very adult. Latin American folk art and some of Europe's finest artwork were there to behold. Strolling bands and performers seemed to be everywhere at once, and Fiesta Island provided thrills and chills. World Fair groupies came, and some stayed. The city gained a much-needed civic center, a grand federal courthouse, a museum of Texan cultures, and a theater for the performing arts crowned with Juan O'Gorman's magnificent mosaic mural. A river extension project reinvigorated the central city, paving the way for a booming tourist industry. And a hotel was built in record time and in a most extraordinary fashion.
It was romantic, picturesque. Everybody, a Texan from wherever, felt that San Antonio was a piece of his life. I think it was the just right town for that to happen.
San Antonio, once the center of culture and population in Texas, by the early 1960s was fast fading into the shadows cast by Dallas and Houston. How on earth did this underling Texas city garner a World's Fair?
That was a tremendous undertaking for a city our size at that particular time.
I think we were a city in doldrums.
Realizing that San Antonio could use an economic boost, local businessman Jerome Harris suggested a World's Fair and then coined the name HemisFair. Then Henry B. Gonzalez got elected to Congress.
The first Hispanic in the history of Barry County to go to Congress. And he worked out a 20th century plan for the 20th district.
That plan included a Fair of the Americas to help his hometown find a place in the sun. Congressman Gonzalez called upon his friend Bill Sinken to get the ball rolling.
I said, well, Henry, what do we do at a fair? He said, that's going to be your problem. I'll help you get the money. You get the ideas.
And Bill Sinken, to me, had the vision for the fair.
Top businessmen and contributors formed an executive board which met every Tuesday morning for nearly 5 years and never lacked a quorum. In short, community businesses, large and small, got behind the fair with great enthusiasm. However, a lot of money had to be raised. To begin, Marshall Steves formed a plan and generated $6.5 million.
He got it underwritten so quickly. record time.
It was very easy to sell to me in those days because I thought this was an underwriting, not a gift.
It was 1963. There was much to accomplish and only 5 years in which to organize a major fair. O'Neill Ford was the first architect on the project, but was later fired. Bill Sinkin invited his architect friend Allison Peary to work on a site plan.
I said, swell, where's it going to be? Well, we don't know yet. Well, who's going to be in it? Well, we don't know yet. Well, what's it going to be about? Well, we don't know yet. And besides that, he wanted right away, at Henry Gonzalez's insistence, to go to Central America and drum up enthusiasm for the fair.
So Al Peary, in turn, invited his friend Frank Duane to produce a pamphlet, a brochure, something to present to the heads of state in Central America. It was Friday. They needed it by Monday.
Basically, I had nothing to go on. It was a trade fair. It was a fair for the New World alone. That was about it. It didn't have a location. It certainly didn't have a budget. So I do the copy. And a page here, 2 sentences for this. It takes overnight, but all night.
Bill Sinkin and Mayor Walter McAllister visited 5 Central American countries and returned with assurances of participation from all 5.
We thought we had a great trip, and within 60 days after we had returned, there were 4 presidents gone, deposed, fired, and we were left with 1, Costa Rica. So our trip there wasn't particularly fruitful.
Carlos Fryman, one of the first staff members hired to work in international relations, was housed in a tiny space at La Villita with Richard Miller, coordinator of exhibits.
We used to share the restroom as our office, you know, because there was no other place to be seated. And we used to share the John, obviously, covered, and that's what we had as an office for a long while.
Other creative people were brought in from throughout the country to tackle the job of generating ideas and themes. Sherry Wagner was hired to plan youth participation in the fair with Project Y.
But soon after I arrived, it was evident that there were so many needs and not very many people. So my job quickly morphed into many, many different things.
Until a site was selected for the fair, the creative team marked time by working on thematic concepts, a logo, and El Abrazo, a monthly magazine.
It was a brochure for corporate participants, national participants. It was one of those glossy, elegant, the rhetoric things. It wasn't really about anything. It was full of promises.
Now site selection becomes paramount. Several suburban locations were touted.
The strongest pressures came from people who wanted it right downtown in order to do 2 things, to renew a part of downtown and to help vitalize the downtown for the future.
A 92-acre area just south of San Antonio's downtown was identified. A neighborhood of mixed ethnicity with some very grand homes, but many falling into disrepair. Congressman Henry B. Gonzalez decided it would be a good urban renewal project.
At that time, our downtown was getting to be in a pretty sad shape, and urban renewal played a crucial part. They secured that 90 acres quicker than any land they ever got before.
But there was a lot of controversy over the old houses, and a tremendous preservation effort was mounted.
It was my first conscious time of really seeing an urban renewal project, and I didn't quite understand until that time that they really were removing people for this place. So it became, to me, and in many of the young people working on the staff, we were passionately, totally devoted to trying to save every one of the buildings that we could possibly save.
Screenwriter Claude Stanish was born and raised in that neighborhood.
I think the house behind me belonged to the Cush family, and the Cushes were sort of relatives of ours, belonged to the same parish I did, St. Michael's Parish. It was a Polish parish that was almost there where the Tower of the America now stands.